All right, so I'm here today with a very special guest, Calgary's own, emerging in the R&B in the R&B section. Ruben Young, how you doing today, homie?
I'm good, bro. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for joining. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. Much
Yes, sir.
appreciated. So we'll get right into it. So Black Lives Matter protests.
Mm.
I seen you at the protest. I had the privilege of hearing you speak. It was amazing. I was very moved by it. I remember you saying that was the most nervous you've ever been, and hearing that from an artist that, performs in front of hundreds, thousands of people, you don't expect to hear that. So let's dive into that. Why did you feel the need to say something? And why were you feeling that way? What made you nervous about telling your story?
Word. Well, I just got home. I got home like 2-3 days after George Floyd, and I hopped on. The protests kind of made the news, and people were talking about it. And I hopped on the internet just to look and learn about what was going down and what the rhetoric was here. And I was just so pissed to see so much ignorance in the comments, so much both passive aggressive and blatant racism and ignorance to how important this is to human beings in the city. And I just got vexed, and I hopped on Instagram, and I promised myself this year I would be less. It's like less fear, more love. Like I would hold back. In the past, I've held back how I feel because I'm like, I don't know if I'm there yet. I always like match myself as a human, my success to my music career success. And since I'm still growing, I'm like, I haven't earned the right to say something. People don't want to listen to me. But this year I'm like, no, well, I'm a human being. Like I'm supposed to speak my mind and share how I feel. And this anyway. So yeah, so I hopped on, vexed, let my followers know. And especially the people here in Calgary, because I know that's where a ton of my base is, that like, yo, this is a real thing in Calgary. Like racism is here as hell. And we need to pay attention and make noise about it. And Ava, the amazing 19-year-old who put together the protest in Kensington that day, she just hit me on the DMs and asked me to speak based on what I had been saying on Instagram. And dude, I got that message, and I sat there for a good half hour, texted my mom, texted my brother about it, just thought, I was like, is this my place at all? Like I had, and I asked her, first thing I asked her was like, okay, who else is speaking? If I'm the only speaker, then no, not because I'm nervous, but because my voice shouldn't be the loudest. Like there's a lot of stories that need to be told right now that are way more important than mine. But she said, and especially Black stories, like from the mouths of the struggle and from the experiences. So yeah, but yeah, no, she had a great lineup, and she just said she loved my voice because it's different, but it's still relevant.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it was just I think it's so different than getting up and singing a song. It's so different, which can be nervous too, but it's a responsibility that you bear when you decide you want to speak your mind on something that is this critical and this important, that you get it right and you say how you truly feel. You say it in a way that connects, and you do it from the right way, because at the end of the day, like I said, I'm an ally. Like I'm not Black. So who am I speaking to? Like it's all of that. I really needed to understand that before I got up there. So yeah, it was hella nervous, man.
I bet, bro. I bet. Yeah, I would have been nervous too, but you did a great job. You killed it. Like I said,
Thank
it
you.
was very inspiring and great to hear. But let's talk about some of the challenges that you face personally growing up, because it's not something I ever really thought about until you brought it up. Your fair skin tone. So did you have troubles? Fitting in with the Black community, the white community? What are some of the challenges that you face growing up, kind of being, in between?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for asking that, man. For me, it was always weird. So my brother is he's my we're half brothers. So his dad is full black. Our mom is Caribbean. She's from Trinidad, and my dad is white. But my dad wasn't around, and my brother pretty much raised me. He's 11 years older than me, so I was raised in a home with a Trini girl, with a Trini mom, and a black man raising me. But I'm this skin color with a Jew fro, and it was weird for me because like black culture has always been like what I consumed. Like we had Motown playing in my house. My brother played basketball. He was like one of the greatest basketball players ever to come out of the city. So we're a basketball family. I went to school wearing a double XL Kobe jersey with my giant Jew fro and listening to Luther Vandross on my Discman. But then I go to school, and I grew up in Marteloup. My mom wanted to raise me in a neighborhood that I didn't need to struggle. So like, I don't talk about this much, but we rented a house for 23 years. We never owned because my mom wanted me to live in the right neighborhood. So we grew up in Marteloup, so I was safe, and I could have the privileges that I do. And like, I love her so much for that, and I can never repay her for that, because my brother had it super hard when he was younger. The money struggle was real. The single mom struggle was real. Being a young black boy in Calgary was tough. And she didn't want any of that stuff for me. So that being said, most of my social circle was white. Like, all my friends were white just based on who was around me. And so I have what I learned at home and like how I felt and how my brother and his friends talked. You hear Wagwan all the time, and then I go to school and be like, yo, Wagwan, and they're like, what are you even saying, dude? And then I got weird. I got like self-conscious about it. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I got to get used to this. Everybody plays hockey, and everybody likes. It was weird. In junior high, people liked like AC/DC and like classic rock. I was like, what is this? So it was that part was interesting for me growing up. And I mean, as I got older, moved to Toronto, it's like whites are the minorities in downtown Toronto. Yeah. Like it's a mix, and the culture is just it's really made me want to dig deeper into my Trini roots or into all of my roots and just learn more and be more proud of what I come from and all that. Right. So
that's what's up, man. Yeah, we'll talk about your move to Toronto a little later, but that's so interesting that you have, different perspectives from different cultures and, trying to take the black culture and, integrate it into the white culture. That's such an interesting story. But I want to know, how do you feel about people in positions of power? Do you feel like it's mandatory that they should speak up on these Black Lives Matter issues? Or do you feel like, people just because they're in a position of power doesn't mean that they have to do something or say something about it? I'd love to get your take on that.
It's a great question. It depends on the person, I think, because to say that everybody has to have the same reaction or make the same move, I don't think that that's fair, because a difference between my brother and I, for example, is like his resources in the city are like, his relationships are deep. So he's leveraged his relationships, and he just had a meeting with the executive chief of police yesterday to share some perspective as a black man. And as a basketball coach to thousands of kids in the city, especially kids in the Northeast, kids that go through it of all colors, he wanted to share some perspective. And it was a dope talk, and now it's led to more conversations. So if he didn't post once about it, who cares? He's out there making his impact. He's making his impact every day. But what I think is, especially for everybody else, for the allies, for everybody who does not walk in those same shoes, it's our job to, again, like I said in my speech, reflect on our experience with racism, reflect on who we were in those moments and how we want to be better, and how the people around us need to be held accountable for it. Because once you reflect on your experience, then you're going to feel something. You're going to feel motivated to perhaps make an impact in that way. But then to take it a step further, because you asked about people in positions of power. People in positions of power, again, it all depends on the person, but let's take somebody like Brett Wilson, for example. He's one of those guys that, growing up in the city, you know, I went to business school and I looked up to a lot of people, including him. And he's like that loud. He wants to be the loudest guy in the room. He wants to have his voice heard on every topic and go flagrant on Twitter, and often enjoyed it, you know. And then when everything has happened and transpired over the last week or so, I looked at his Twitter in hopes that a white man in that position would say something, would say the right thing to his community and to the people who listen to him, because I think that's his responsibility. He decided to be the guy with the loudest voice. Have the loudest voice now. Speak to the people who are oblivious to racism, who think it's not a big deal in the city, and who are blatantly racist because they listen to him. He has a voice. This guy decides to say instead, he decides to say that Mayor Nenshi won the election because he played the Northeast race card. And then in the same day he decides, which he's apologized for, but
okay. Good.
And then in the same day he tweeted, rioting is bad, peaceful protesting is good, but let's talk about the tangible ways to make the world a better place, with a picture that reads, pick up a piece of trash when you see it, hold the door open for somebody, tip your waiter, let someone into your lane in traffic.
He's completely missing the point, man.
Like, I was genuinely shocked. And to that, as an example, I just typed up a letter that I'm going to send his way, because I've known him, I've seen him, been around him for a long time, and I'm personally cheesed. Like, I personally find it unacceptable. And I don't think it's too late. I think that a guy like that can still have impact. This, like everybody is saying, this battle does not end this week, this month, this year. It's steady. But someone like him could make a world of difference to young entrepreneurs, young professionals that are Black and minority in this city. He can make a huge impact to everybody.
Definitely. Yeah. So, yeah, my take on that, especially for Black people, I do think, while I don't think it's mandatory, I do think it's very, very important to speak up, and to let your voice be heard, because the way I see it is like, there's a golden opportunity for us. We literally, I don't think there's ever been a time in our lives where like the whole world is listening to minorities and Black people, and they want to be educated on what it's like to be a Black person and racism. And I don't know how long this period is going to last for, you know, where we do have their attention. People are literally not posting on social media to donate their time towards Black Lives Matter. So, you know, while I don't think it's mandatory, I think it's very, very important and very, very crucial for people with voices to say something. Try to educate people. You know, like, there's a lot of people in the Black community that complain about white people, and, you know, how they don't think racism is real, or, you know, whatever they want to complain about. So I'm like, now is your opportunity to educate them, you know, educate all races, right? But yeah, that's just my take. I'd love to hear your opinion on the rioting and looting, because there's kind of two camps, right? There's some that say peaceful protests haven't worked in the past, and, you know, we need to take more aggressive action, and that's the only way change is going to come. But there's other people that say that, you know, the rioting and looting is only hurting other businesses, and there's no real impact that it's having. Did you have any perspective on that?
I do. I think that protests speak volumes. They do. Like, historically, they have been a centerpiece for the public voice, and I think that they're important. I think that people getting out and for a movement, especially the power of it, seeing the videos in LA, seeing the videos in Paris, seeing the videos everywhere. The next thing you know, Calgary, it's powerful. And it reminds people that they're not alone and that their voice isn't the only one that's wants to be heard and needs to be heard. I think it's super important. I don't think looting is the move. And I think that a lot of the looting, it's pretty easy to see that the people looting aren't necessarily all victims of racism. I think it's people trying to take advantage of a situation and anarchists and all that garbage. Like, it's a pretty obvious thing. I don't see how that helps destroying businesses locally and everything. If you're mad, when the Vancouver Canucks won the cup, they rioted pretty damn hard. And, it seldom does good. But so I guess the word rioting has an asterisk next to it. But with that being said, people are mad, and they're not mad about nothing. They're mad about police. Yeah. Like, they're mad about a absolutely shattered system. So what are you supposed to go out there and like hold hands and sing Kumbaya and hope it gets better? That's not how it moves either. So if you're mad, you got to be mad. But
it's a lot of built up emotion and frustration, because George Floyd obviously wasn't the first person to be to be treated like that by police, right? So I feel like a lot of people, they don't know how to release it, and it's the only way that they can think of. They just want their voices to be heard. So not that I'm in support of it, of the rioting and looting, but I do understand and empathize with them. Even for myself, there's just been a lot of built up frustration and emotions, and I've had to work on learning how to channel that into something positive, something constructive, something that will help others. But yeah, I do definitely sympathize and empathize with all our brothers and sisters down in the States.